Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Phil Parker is the owner of Lycosa Web Services, and whatever a client needs from their website, Phil can make it happen. He never turns down a one-to-one, so if you'd like to learn more about Phil, then drop him a line. Now, I have to apologise, there's a bit of an annoying echo on my voice during this recording that we just couldn't get rid of, but Phil does most of the talking, so hopefully you can put up with it. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast, Phil.
Oh, hi Liz, thanks very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Phil, you run Lycosa Web Services, but tell me a bit about your background and how you came to be doing what you do.
Well, as with many people, the route to where I am now has been quite varied, really. But essentially, I took a job working with an IT company, and they went bust. So it was a now or never moment, and that was 18 years ago. And so I started the business, taking on a couple of the clients that the IT business had left in the lurch because they went bust. So that was the big kick to start my business, and I haven't looked back.
I'm sure things must have changed a lot over the last 18 years.
Oh, yes. I think when I first started doing websites 18 years ago, 20 years ago, people would say, "Oh, you're getting a website. Oh, that's fancy." And now the feature set that people expect of a website are very much different. A lot more. If you go and buy a car, you don't just expect it to have wheels and to get you from A to B. You expect a whole lot more.
Yeah, and it's the same with a website. You expect a lot more bells and whistles than you would have had 20 years ago.
Well, people want it to work as well. You don't just say, "Oh, we've got a website." You say it's a tool to drive more business or to be more visible or get more exposure or whatever your particular goal for that website is. It needs to achieve that goal. It's no longer just a fancy thing to have.
So tell me about some of the services that you offer. You build websites, but are they particular kinds of websites? Are they websites that have videos on? Are they websites that people can purchase goods through?
Absolutely. We work with the clients very closely, and they're all bespoke. It really depends what the client needs. So I'm very much I say yes when somebody says, "Can we have this? Can we have that? Can we do this?" And I say yes, and then I go away and pull my hair out working out how I'm going to do it. But I always find a solution. So the answer to your question is yes, all of those and more. So we can build. If you just want a really simple one-page starter website, just to have a web presence, great, that's absolutely fantastic. But what we would do is build it with a platform. We typically use WordPress, and even though it's just one page, it doesn't mean that you can't then build from that. Of course you can. If you come back to me after 6 months and say, "We decided to sell online," brilliant, we'll install WooCommerce or something and say, we can add your products and we can get you selling online. We can put videos on the website. We don't produce videos, but we can add videos if you've got videos, or we can help you create. We have people in our network that can help you create videos. And we can talk about things like sales funnels. If you've got a marketing company, we can work with them. Or if you've got a graphic designer, we can work with them. If you need any bits that other people can't do, we can build it for you. And this is the sort of sticky area where people go, "What?" They look at me blank. "What are you talking about?" So probably a good example is we had a customer that had an e-commerce website selling fencing panels online, but they couldn't get the pricing for the shipping to calculate properly. So we built a little plugin for them for the WordPress website, and now they're secure in the knowledge that when somebody goes to buy the fencing panels, the shipping's going to be calculated correctly.
So if somebody's got lots of different products, different prices, and they think, "Oh, it's going to be really tricky to sell online," you might be able to produce something bespoke for them that would allow them to do so.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had customers that have provided very, very interesting challenges. Mark from Velo Coaching, he's a he coaches cyclists, and he also sells online some of his kit and some of his merchandise. He also works with a local group for children, which is a charity, and so he needed to separate all these things into different bank accounts, and there were subscription payments, membership areas. It was really complex, but we did it for him. Yeah. So the answer's yeah. Like I say, if somebody says I need that, well, I can't. I don't like businesses that say, "I'm sorry, that's not what we do.
Yeah.
You'll have to go somewhere else for that." I'm very much you can't always do everything that everybody wants, but within reason, absolutely. We try and build what you need rather than what we sell.
Yes. So that whatever the customer wants, you will try and do for them.
Whatever the customer needs. Not always what they want.
Not
we
quite the
do
same
have it's not quite the same thing, and there is an important distinction because we do get into some interesting discussions, shall we say, about what they want and what they need, and it can be two separate things or two different things, what they imagine. And from my experience, I'll certainly sit down and have that conversation, and normally you're on the same page, on the same wavelength, but not always. And sometimes you sort of have to I have to grit my teeth and build what they want, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you don't know until you do it, do you? So
yeah, that's right. So how was your business affected last year when we went into lockdown? Did it make any difference to you?
It went through the roof. It booked the trend. Quite a lot of my customers sell to shops, and we had quite a few new customers came along who said, we sell to shops. An example, there's a farm down the road that does haylage for horses and so on, and he would sell the smaller bales of straw and haylage to the farm shops around the country. They were shut because of lockdown. He wanted to sell direct to the customers because they were asking. And of course he would say, well, we sell to other farms, but we'll fill an entire truckload. And, we only want a pallet of, 20 bales of straw. So we built a website for him, and that seems to have done really, really well.
Yeah, I think it's funny, isn't it? Some people that the lockdown was terrible for, and other people it worked in their favour.
I feel very blessed that I was in an industry that it did book the trend. I feel very blessed.
Yeah. Now, you and I know each other from B&I. We're members of the Wolds chapter. Yeah. But was
Indeed.
Networking something that you did before you became a B&I member?
Yes and no. I joined a local group about 5 years ago, the Driffield Business Club, and it's a very sort of social and informal kind of gathering. It's really nice, and I actually made money. I've made more money off other web designers than anybody else. There were 3 other web designers in the room, and I panicked and thought, oh my God, there's all this competition. But in fact, my skill set and what I quickly came to learn was that just by being in the same room as other people in the same industry was that we all have different skill sets. My skill set is very much a development, technical side of things. And so there were all 3 of those web designers in that room have given me work because I can do things they can't. So that was a real shock to me. It was kind of, wow, what's going on here? I didn't expect that at all. And I'm constantly having those, wow, I didn't expect that moments from all sorts of things. And when Carl invited me to come and join or come and visit the Wolds chapter, I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go. And it's a really, really good way of not just getting more business, but learning about business, and particular B&I with all the podcasts and the training events and things. Learning not about my business. I know my business. I know how it works. I know how to build websites, but about how to market yourself, how to put yourself across. how to make the time that you spend talking to people more effective.
Now, one of the things that we do in BNI and in other networks as well is that you have 60 seconds to pitch your business. Did you find that difficult when you first started doing that?
Yeah, because I waffle on for hours. I can talk. I don't think in the Driffield Business Club you get a minute to stand up and say whatever you want, but they're not rigid about it. So it wasn't too much of a stretch for me going from there. But certainly the idea of you can't tell everybody everything that you need to know all in one go, and you shouldn't, because people get overwhelmed and they don't understand what you do. Just being really specific and pick one thing that you do and then just try and sell that. So I could say, well, this week I'm selling small websites, £250, try and get a few. I mean, this week I sort of said an example of somebody that I'd helped, and I want to sell to people who sell things with wheels. So that just hopefully that sticks in people's minds, and they might think, oh, they sell things with wheels. Wonder if they've got a website. So it's that kind of just training people into thinking about your business in a slightly different way, I think.
Yeah. Now we're meeting online, and our chapter is going to stay online. But how do you think it's different networking in a virtual space to meeting people in real life?
That's a really good question. With BNI, I think it doesn't matter that much because it's so structured and so organised, and the idea of referring is such a strong one, and the whole method of doing stuff is so well thought out that you really, like I say, the time that you spend talking to somebody is really, really valuable, and organising one-to-ones and so on and so forth online. I can fit in 3 or 4 in a day and not leave my desk. Whereas if I was travelling somewhere, it would make you wouldn't be able to do that many, and you'd never get any work done. But for the Driffield Business Club, because it's such an informal, social gathering, we did do it on Zoom, and it was nice to catch up. But that's all you were doing. We had, a minute each, and there's maybe 30 of us, and the meeting was done in 30 minutes, and we'd all just had a nice little, well, I've been doing this or I haven't been doing that and whatever, and there was no follow-on, there were no referrals, there was nothing to follow on. So kind of, apart from just seeing those faces once a fortnight, it wasn't as productive. So for that, now that they're back in the room, as it were, it's really nice to go and have a breakfast and just mingle and chat. So, and I think a blended approach is a really good one. So doing the social events with BNI, I think, would be really good.
Yeah. Now, the online networking aside, do you think that the way you go about networking has changed over the years that you've been doing it?
More than likely. That's a good question. Certainly I've got more confidence. That's one of the big things. Standing up for the first time in a room of 30 people that you don't know in well, I wouldn't say it's an alien environment, it's in the golf club at Driffield, but it's one that I mean, I don't play golf, so it's in a room that you're not familiar with to people that you don't know. It was very, very nerve-wracking. I wrote notes and wrote it all down and shaking like a leaf. And now, partly because I'm familiar with the environment, I'm familiar with the people, a lot of them have become friends, and it's really just a social thing. But it gives you that confidence to stand up in front of people. And that's a really interesting one. I've got a customer who is an actor, and he does training. So he's used to standing in front of people. And he said he came along to one of the Driffield Business Club meetings, and he said he was really nervous. And I said, yeah, it is. It's a different thing. It's a really different thing, and it's a skill in itself. And just being able to sort of chat naturally. I think 5 years ago I would have struggled to do this interview because I would have been so nervous. I would have been, oh dear, this is too scary. So it's a really, really good thing to be able to put yourself in front of people and just stand there and deliver and say, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Come talk to me, you know.
Yeah. And as small business owners, if we don't do that, nobody's going to do it for us, are they? And no one's going to buy from us unless they know what we do.
Well, nobody knows you're there, do they?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're a shop on the high street. You know, I mean, I'm tucked away in the business centre on Skerne Road in Driffield, which, you know, it's kind of, if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there, do you?
Yeah.
So, and I'm a big believer in you don't know what you don't know. Until somebody comes up and says, hi, I'm Phil, I do websites. Well, I didn't even know there was a web designer in Driffield, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, that's a thought, yeah.
Yeah.
So that, absolutely, small businesses, it's... I've tried other forms of you know, getting my name out there, but advertising is too expensive, and doing like a weekly article in the newspaper takes too much time, and I don't think it would produce very much. So for me, networking is really the best way of getting people to know who I am or what I do.
Yeah. Would you say you've had any unexpected results from networking? You know, people you didn't expect to meet in a networking meeting, or clients that you've met through networking?
Always. I think you have to expect the unexpected. You know, you meet all sorts of people. And, you know, to be honest, there have been times, I'm not going to name any names or anything, but there have been times when I've thought, what's the point in talking to them?
Yeah.
We can't possibly have anything in common at all. Oh, I suppose I'll have this conversation. Go on then. So we'll have a Zoom conversation. And within 5 minutes, you're like, wow, that's brilliant. I didn't expect that. And you talk about, and the conversation just goes wherever it's going to go. I mean, obviously, with such as the BNI, you try and, you know, say, who are good referrals for you and what's your business and all this stuff. And that's great. But you just, I would never turn down a conversation with anybody, because you just don't know. You don't know who they know, and you don't know. And it's not always about getting work. I love the philosophy of the giver's gain with BNI, which actually fits in very well with my philosophy generally. I like to help people, which is why I typically, probably my catchphrase is, I'll make your problem my problem. So if you've got a problem, come to me, and I will do my damnedest to do. I had a next door neighbour popped in. She's got a problem with her Mac. I don't have a Mac. I don't know anything about them. So I've contacted a friend of mine who will come in tomorrow and have a look for her. I'm not asking for any reward of that. It's just that's the sort of person I am. So it really aligns very nicely with my personality, and I really like that sort of BNI thing. But going out there and you know, talking to somebody in a field that you just don't expect, and see what you can give to them, because that's rewarding in itself.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about trying networking for the first time?
Ooh, I would say pick a local group. Find a local group that just meets informally, because I think if 5 years ago somebody had invited me to BNI, I think it might have scared me off, because it's very formal, very structured. I think I would have been a fish out of water, unless you are, you know, already very, very confident in selling yourself. But if there are local groups that meet sort of informally, have a go at that. Dip your toe in the water and see what you think of it, because it's not for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do say this to people about the BNI group, because they meet at 6:30 every Thursday morning, and I get a lot of scowls at what time. And that's sometimes the reason why people don't want to come. And I think, well, if, you know, that's no reason not to do something, you know. Go outside of your comfort zone, try something different. So
Yeah, I think you're right. There are different types of networking, and not every sort of networking suits everybody.
absolutely, yeah. Well, the Driffield Business Club was actually born out of the members. I think had already been involved in numerous different types of business networking, BNI included, and they found it too onerous. You know, they just wanted to have I think most of them are quite, well, no, they're not all quite old. The sort of committee are older, and they don't have the appetite or, for doing that much networking. They just they've got busy enough lives, and they just want to kind of have a nice breakfast and chat to their mates, and they've all got work off it, and that's absolutely fine. That's valid too.
Yeah, definitely. So just finally then, Phil, what kind of businesses are you looking to connect with?
We're looking really for it's not the kinds of businesses, it's more the types of the personality of the people, really. So, for example, we've got Wei from My Bemora. She started up her own skincare business. She actually creates her own skincare range. She's Chinese, and I think she's got a lot of the recipes from her mum. And she uses organic and natural, ecologically friendly ingredients. And she has won awards already in the last, I think she's been running about, is it 3 years now, and she's won awards, and she's an absolute powerhouse. The stuff she's doing is amazing, and I know her from Rudog. Her husband set up. The pair of them set up Rudog e-bikes, electric bikes in Hornsey. They also had a farmhouse that they rented out, so I did a little website for that, but they decided to live in that instead. And so they're kind of serial entrepreneurs, and they're really proactive, really, really proactive, where will be ringing me up and messaging me and saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, can we change this, I've got a new product line, can we do this? And they understand the value of the things that we're doing, not just the cost of the things. There's a local photographer, Gavin Prest in Hornsey, he's won awards, he's amazing, and they always use him for their photography, for the products and everything that they have. And so their website, I mean, it's not hard to make something look good when you've got great photographs. But the websites, I mean, I'm really proud to have worked with both of them on Rudog and My Bemora. But they're the kinds of people that we want to be working with, who are interested in being proactive, just on the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah. And so how can people find you and get in touch, Phil?
If you go to our website, it's lycosa.co.uk. Sorry, lycosa.co.uk, and that's Lycosa. The name came about, it's a little ironic. Lycosa carolinensis is the wolf spider. Ooh. And it's the only spider that doesn't need a web to catch its prey. It hunts its prey like a wolf, hence the name. So I really like the irony of a web design company that doesn't need a web, but you can only take the analogy so far. But I just like that sort of humour, so I thought it was quite a good name. So that's our website. So yeah, go there, and I think if you're interested in the website, the best thing to do is just give me a call. So the number's on the website, and we can have a chat. And it's one thing that I always say to people is I'll give you honest, impartial advice. For instance, a friend of mine's a joiner, and he said, I want to take pictures before and after on a website. And I said, don't bother, just use Facebook. I had another customer that wanted to do live streaming on the website, and I said, don't bother, use Facebook, because that's a tool for the job. So, you've nothing to lose by giving me a call, and everything to gain possibly. Because I might say to you, you don't need a website, or this is how you want to do it, or you don't need my help to do that. So it's not always. I'm not trying to. We're always trying to make money, but if I can give somebody a really good piece of advice and they can go away and tell somebody and say, well, you want giving the hard sell, and that's it. So it's always worth a conversation.
Absolutely. It's been great chatting to you, and I was really glad that you told me how your name came about, because I nearly asked that.
Did you?
So now I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Liz. It's been really, really great talking to you.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.